To create my winter fox, I have a piece of 9 by 12 white paper. I have a pencil to start with, I have crayons to add color, and I have watercolors for our finishing touches. So we're going to create a winter fox that also shows an illusion of depth in the artwork, meaning that the trees are going to be closer, that are closer to us are going to appear larger, and as they get farther away, they're going to appear smaller. Here's a finished version. So you can see our winter fox is sitting in the snow, and the trees trunks that are in the front are going off of the page, and they get smaller as they get farther back and closer to that horizon line. So the horizon line could be very, way up there, or it could be a little bit lower depending on what you want for your picture. Okay, and I left this part white for the snow, but just putting in a few little marks of grays and blues. That's a finished one. Here's another finished one. The fox is a little bit larger as it's closer to the bottom of the page. There's fewer trees, but they still show that illusion of depth or space. The horizon line's a little bit lower. But it's all, the same idea, just depending on what you're interested in, okay? How you want to make yours look. So these are some examples. We're going to get started by first drawing our fox and then determining where our horizon line is and where our trees are. So I'm going to use pencil, but I will press hard, so hopefully you will see it on the video, and I'll talk you through the process. So I am going to start with the nose of the fox. So I'll put mine maybe right about here. I'm going to start with his nose, which is kind of like just a little bit of a sideways oval, but you can make it any sort of shape that you want. And then I am going to go up and over, coming up from the nose and over, and up from the nose and over here. So it should be pretty symmetrical on both sides. I'm going to place his little eyes right in here. And again, we can go over all of this with our crayon or colored pencil if you'd like. Either would work. I'm going to come down on the sides, and I want to connect to that little nose. So I'm going to kind of come over and over. Now I'm going to go up a little bit on the sides to do the ears. They can be more pointed or more rounded. I'm going to do a curved line in the middle and have the other ear on the other side. Now we're going to draw his body. I'm going to do a sort of sweeping motion to be his back and his tail. So I'm going to come here, go around, and come up and over. I'm going to come back in and over like that, where the tail connects to the body. And I'll do a little jagged line to show the difference in color on his tail. And I'm going to just connect that down. So it's slightly abstracted. It's sort of like a fox that's kind of sitting in the snow, more simplified version. I'll bring that nose a little bit farther down. So now I'll determine where my trees are. I might have one real big that's going off the front of the page and up to the top. I might have one a little ways back, again going to the top of the page, and maybe having it sort of end in here. I might show one in the distance that's smaller, so it's not only shorter, but also possibly shorter, but definitely thinner. Maybe I'll do another one over here. And I could have another one going up the page, or I could leave it just like that. Now I'll choose where my horizon line's gonna go. All my tree trunks need to be, below that horizon line, or else those trees might be floating in the air. So I'm gonna come over, I'm gonna skip over the tree trunks like that. So now it's time to add color. I can use a variety of blacks and browns in my trees. I can use a variety of oranges, reds, and browns in my fox. I can do some blues or grays to show little indentations in the snow. So for a tree trunk, I'm gonna come down with my brown. I'm gonna turn my paper just to make it easier for me. Okay, so I'm gonna come down, coloring this in the best that I can. And colored pencil would work just fine. In fact, you might prefer that. Either one would work. So for a trunk, I would come down with my brown, and then I might take my black and go over top to show maybe some texture of bark in the tree. Maybe over on my, I'll skip to the fox so we can talk about his color. There's so many different shades. There's red orange, there's yellow orange, we have brown. I might do a variety of that. I might start with more of an orange color and then put a brown on top. So I might come in like this, but I'm gonna leave certain spots white, like around his eyes and the tip of his tail. And then when I take my brown and I go on top, it kind of mutes it so it's not a bright orange and maybe becomes a more realistic fox color. A combination of the orange and the brown. I would finish all of these areas and then move on to paint. So, you know what? Let me go ahead and I'll add that color and we'll meet back here and talk about paint. I have colored that in. I wanted to first, before we move on to color, talk about adding in some little lines of grays and blues to create a little bit of dimension into that snow. So it's not just flat white. So I'm gonna go around where the snow might be kind of a little bit more bunched up or have different sort of textures to it around the tree trunks. So I'm gonna just kind of create some lines, and I'm using a gray, and I could just do gray, or I could add a little bit of blue with that gray. Either way is fine, just a little bit here and there. And they're just kind of squiggly marks and lines. And I'm also gonna do some for him where he's sitting. So the snow moves or has indentations from different things in nature, maybe not human footprints at this point, but some different things. And then we can make it go here, just kind of putting it in spaces we feel like would add to our picture. So I can take my blue and I'm just kind of not even going over the full line. I'm just putting a little bit of blue into that gray. And I'm gonna go a little bit farther back around this tree, and then maybe even in the distance a little bit. All right, now I can go ahead and add color. So I'm only gonna add color into my sky. I'm gonna leave the rest white. If I wanted to, I could even press really, really hard with a white crayon to possibly get the effect of snow falling. So I'm not sure, we'll see how much shows up. But if we just put a few spots here or there, we can see what it turns out like. Now I could do a blue sky, I could do a black sky, I could do a purple sky. I actually might consider doing a purple and a black together. So I'm going to turn my paper. I'm going to dip into my black and start there. Oh, I can see where it's starting to kind of lift up where I have those dots. Now the more color I get on my brush, the darker it will be. So more water will get a lighter gray, less water will get a darker. I'm going to add a little bit of purple into that while it's wet. So just have a little bit of a purple hint here and there. I'm going to go back and get some more. And again, get a little bit of purple here or there. If it goes a little past your line, you can just kind of go over it just a tad. Gonna add this in there. Even if I don't see the white all the way, I can see a little bit of it. I can come in with my purple. Get more black until I'm just filling up this sky. So it's anything above the horizon line in between those trees. And while that's wet, I'll add some purple. And I feel like this spot's a little lighter over here, so I might come over it just one more time, at least a little bit. And there we go. I've got a winter fox sitting in a snow-covered forest, and we see that illusion of space and depth as the trees are closer and larger in the front and getting smaller as they get farther away. It looks like a cold winter scene.